Number 10. The mimic octopus. Regular octopuses change color. That's already impressive. They do it with no brain dedicated to the task, just light-sensitive proteins scattered across their skin, which is, if you stop and think about it, already absurd. But the mimic octopus looked at color changing and said, I can do more than that. It physically reshapes its entire body to impersonate other animals. Not vaguely, specifically. It flattens and undulates to become a flatfish, tucks 6 arms away, and extends 2 to become a banded sea snake, spreads all 8 and hovers to become a lionfish. At least 13 documented species, chosen, as far as scientists can tell, with genuine intent. Here's the part that keeps marine biologists up at night. It doesn't pick randomly. It seems to choose whichever animal its current predator is most afraid of. It reads the room. It does threat assessment in real time. No bones. Brain the size of a walnut. Better situational awareness than most people I've met. As a bonus detail that I can't stop thinking about, the mimic octopus was only discovered in 1998. It had been out there the whole time, doing all of this completely unbothered, waiting for someone to notice. Nobody noticed for the entire history of marine biology until 26 years ago. Number 9, the dung beetle. The dung beetle can pull 1,141 times its own body weight. That's equivalent to you walking outside right now, finding 6 fully loaded double-decker buses parked in a row and just pulling them, all of them, at the same time, down the road. And here's where it tips from impressive into something else entirely. This strength, this record-breaking, physics-defying, most of any animal on Earth strength, exists for one single reason: to fight other male dung beetles over the right to mate inside a tunnel full of dung. The strongest animal on the planet by relative measure is currently hosting underground wrestling tournaments inside a ball of poop, and evolution looked at that and said, yes, this is fine. This is what we're doing. I don't judge. I just report. One more thing. Dung beetles navigate by the Milky Way. At night, when they need to roll their ball in a straight line, they look up at the stars to orient themselves. The strongest animal on the planet does astronomy to find its way home from a pile of poop. Number 8, the axolotl. The axolotl is a small salamander from Mexico. It has a permanent smile. It is, by any visual standard, absurdly cute. It is also quietly rewriting what we thought biology was capable of. When an axolotl loses a limb, it doesn't just heal, it rebuilds. Bone, muscle, nerve, blood vessel, all of it. From nothing in weeks. Not approximately. Not close enough. The new limb is functionally identical to the original, right down to individual nerve connections. No scar tissue, no imperfection. It can regrow its spinal cord, parts of its heart, portions of its brain. Scientists have been studying this for decades. The goal is to understand it well enough to apply it to human medicine. We haven't managed it yet. The axolotl, for its part, has not offered to explain. It just sits there, regrowing things very slowly with its permanent smile, completely unbothered. The most unsettling part, the axolotl never fully grows up. It reaches sexual maturity but keeps its juvenile features for life, a condition called neoteny. It is, in a very real biological sense, a creature that chose to stay young forever, and somehow it works out fine for it. Stick around for the last few creatures on this list. There's one I spent the most time trying to describe and illustrate properly. I think it'll genuinely surprise you. Let's keep going. Number 7, the Peregrine Falcon. The fastest human alive runs at about 28 miles per hour for a few seconds before their body starts falling apart. The fastest production car on a public road does around 300 miles per hour. The Peregrine Falcon in a dive has been clocked at 242 miles per hour, a bird with feathers. 242. But here's what I actually want to talk about, because the speed alone undersells it. At 242 miles per hour, the air pressure hitting your face is enough to physically damage your lungs if you breathe wrong. The Falcon solved this. It has a small bony structure inside each nostril called a tubercle that deflects incoming air away from the lungs, allowing it to breathe normally at speeds that would incapacitate most things. It has a nictitating membrane, a transparent third eyelid, that keeps its eyes clear during the dive. Its heart beats up to 600 times per minute. It independently evolved a complete aerodynamic respiratory system, the same problem that required human engineers, pressurized suits, and oxygen masks to solve for fighter pilots. A bird figured out on its own over millions of years, using nothing but bone and tissue. I don't know what that does for you. It does something for me. Number 6, the pistol shrimp. The pistol shrimp is about 4 centimeters long, live lives in warm, shallow water, weighs less than a coin, looks completely unremarkable. When it snaps that one oversized claw shut, the speed of the snap creates a pressure differential so extreme that the water in front of it instantly vaporizes. This forms a cavitation bubble. When that bubble collapses, and it collapses fast, temperatures reach around 4,800 degrees Celsius. The surface of the sun is approximately 5,500. The snap also generates a shock wave at 218 decibels, louder than a gunshot, a flash of light, enough force to stun or kill small fish at a distance without the shrimp ever having to touch them. All of this from one claw snap in under a millisecond. The ocean is full of things like this. Small, quiet, extraordinary, sitting in the dark and doing things that should not be physically possible, completely indifferent to the fact that we find it astonishing. Number 5, the tardigrade. The tardigrade is microscopic. You have never seen one with the naked eye. Right now, there are almost certainly hundreds of them in your backyard. Researchers have spent decades specifically trying to find something that kills them. It keeps not going well. They survive boiling water at 150 degrees Celsius. They survive minus 272 degrees Celsius, 1 degree above absolute zero, the lowest temperature physically achievable in the universe. Radiation 1,000 times the lethal human dose. The vacuum of open space. Scientists actually place them outside a spacecraft. No suit, no capsule, fully exposed to the void. They brought them back in. The tardigrades were fine. They managed this through cryptobiosis, expelling all water from their body, curling into a near indestructible husk, and essentially pausing. Metabolism stops. All biological functions stop. Time for them stops. Then you add water, and they just continue, like nothing happened, like they weren't just floating in space. They've likely survived all 5 mass extinctions. When people ask what might outlast humanity, the tardigrade isn't a candidate in the conversation. It's the answer. Number 4, the lyrebird. The lyrebird is an Australian bird that looks vaguely like a small peacock, unremarkable to look at. Then it opens its mouth. Lyrebirds can reproduce any sound they've ever heard. Not approximately, not kind of sounds like. People listening to recordings routinely cannot tell the difference between the lyrebird and the original source. Documented? Other birds, obviously, but also chainsaws, car alarms, camera shutters, crying babies, construction equipment, human voices. A lyrebird living near an active construction site began reproducing the sound so accurately that researchers initially thought machinery was running when they heard the recording. One raised near a flute player wove flute music into its calls. Nobody fully knows why. The leading theory is mate attraction, meaning that at some point in evolutionary history, a lyrebird decided the best way to find a partner was to become a living, mobile, perfectly accurate recording studio. And it worked. For millions of years, nature really commits to a bit. Number 3, the Bombardier Beetle. Quick thought experiment. If you had to design a defense system for a small beetle, what would you go with? A bad smell, maybe? Some mild acid? Something proportionate? The Bombardier Beetle went in a completely different direction. Inside its abdomen, it keeps 2 separate chemical compounds, hydroquinone and hydrogen peroxide, in isolated storage chambers. When threatened, it routes them into a reaction chamber, adds catalytic enzymes, and triggers an explosive exothermic reaction that heats the mixture to exactly 100 degrees Celsius, the boiling point of water, and fires it out through a directional nozzle at the tip of its abdomen. The spray is boiling hot and chemically toxic. It fires in rapid pulses up to 500 bursts per second. The nozzle rotates. It can aim in almost any direction. Scientists studying this mechanism proposed it as a model for fuel injection systems in jet engines. A beetle, over 200 million years of evolution, independently engineered something sophisticated enough that aerospace engineers are still taking notes. It fits in the palm of your hand. Number 2, the Mantis Shrimp. Most animals on this list have one extraordinary thing. The Mantis Shrimp, in what can only be described as a flex, decided to collect them. Start with the punch. Its club-like appendage accelerates at 10,400 g-forces, identical to the acceleration of a bullet leaving a gun barrel, and strikes at 23 meters per second, delivering 1,500 newtons of force on impact. But here's the part that makes physicists genuinely uncomfortable. Even if it misses, it doesn't miss. The strike is so fast it vaporizes the water in front of it, creating a cavitation bubble that collapses at 4,400 degrees Celsius, generating a second shockwave nearly equal to the first impact. Every punch is actually 2 punches, one physical, one thermodynamic. It has broken aquarium glass from the inside. Facilities that keep mantis shrimp now use specially reinforced tanks built specifically for them. Then there are the eyes. Humans have 3 types of color receptor. Mantis shrimp have 16. They perceive ultraviolet, infrared, and multiple forms of polarized light that nothing else on Earth can detect. Their visual processing is so complex and so unlike ours that scientists genuinely don't know what they experience. They may be perceiving colors that don't have names, because no brain with language has ever processed them. There are no words for what a mantis shrimp sees. One ability would have been enough. The mantis shrimp received a full set and kept going. Number 1, the Immortal Jellyfish. Every animal on this list has an extraordinary ability. This one has the only ability that, when you sit with it long enough, makes everything else feel small. Turritopsis dohrnii is a jellyfish about the size of your fingernail. And when it grows old, or gets sick, or gets injured, or simply becomes stressed enough, it reverses its own biological aging and reverts completely back to its juvenile polyp state. Not partially, not approximately. Every cell. It then grows back into a full adult, which can do it again and again, indefinitely. Scientists call this transdifferentiation, mature, specialized cells reverting to an earlier developmental state and rebuilding into something new. It happens nowhere else in nature at this scale. This jellyfish is, as far as we know, the only multicellular organism on the planet that has genuinely solved death. The catch, and there's always a catch, and is that it's still completely vulnerable to everything else. A predator can eat it. Disease can kill it. The ocean is not gentle, but the mechanism itself is real, confirmed, and currently the subject of serious anti-aging research across multiple countries. We have been trying to cheat death since the beginning of recorded history. Every civilization, every religion, every myth has some version of this search. And somewhere in the Mediterranean Sea, a jellyfish the size of your thumbnail has been quietly doing it, automatically, every time it needs to, completely unbothered, long before we knew it existed.